Open yourself to new experiences in an adorable but strange world. We're taking a quick peek at Don't Open the Doors. Don't Open the Doors is a game about fighting cacti. Big cacti, small cacti, red cacti. This game is stuffed to the brim with various kinds of cacti. They're some of the first things you come across, and they never go away. Oh, do you want a fun enemy encounter? How about some cacti? Want to just get to the exit of an area? Here's some cacti. Want to get that power up? Well, how about a nice handful of cacti, and more cacti? But I digress. The game seems to be the first released project by Anton Riot, a game developer from Russia. Riot seems to have created most of the game himself outside of some help with music and sound effects. That's rather impressive, considering the game has a very unique aesthetic that isn't seen all that often in video games. Claymation. Claymation is the practice of sculpting characters and worlds out of clay, then animating them using stop motion. It's a long and arduous process in rare use as of today, but when done correctly can lead to some fantastic results. Animation studios such as Aardman Animations have used this method almost exclusively for both short and feature-length films. When it comes to video games, however, claymation has only been used for a handful of titles, and with varying results.
Playing free cell, kind of an obsession.
Titles such as Clay Fighter, The Swapper, and Platypus all use this technique. The Neverhood is probably the most notable title to use claymation, and the game that Don't Open the Doors seems to take a lot of inspiration from. Don't Open the Doors is a game all about not doing what you're told, as for almost the entirety of the game, players will be opening doors. Where they come from and what purpose they have outside of giving the player something to do is completely unknown, but it does set up an easy goal to complete. Some science-y people have created a mega bomb to blow up the main door in hopes of putting an end to the madness. You, the player, are tasked with completing this task. Everything is almost immediately made more complicated as the mega bomb is stolen and you're left out in the cold. Don't Open the Doors seems to have been thrown into the RPG genre on its Steam store page, but I hesitate to call it an RPG. The game lacks any kind of progression or leveling system, with enemy encounters mostly left to your own mastery of the game's combat systems opposed to stats. There are ways to increase and change your stats, but it's all through found upgrades or different equipment. If anything, I'd say the game is an RPG in the sense that the Legend of Zelda games are considered an RPG. Not a traditional one, but does carry some of its concepts. There's no kind of character creation either, nor does the main character even have a name or any kind of title. He's just the guy tasked with blowing up the main door, and the only person who can solve anyone's problems through quests. Even though Don't Open the Doors is a very linear game, it still uses a quest system to help give you an idea of where to go, as well as some side quests for extra things to do. Quest givers can be anything from random people you meet to talking mushrooms and pumpkins. Even some enemies will give you quests to complete as long as you don't kill them first. Since leveling up isn't a thing in this game, side quests aren't super important nor necessary for completing the game. They can offer some supplies, such as bombs, money, or armor as a reward, but many of them don't give you anything at all. At least one side quest will actually make you lose an upgraded weapon it tasked you with finding in the first place, giving you nothing in return but that sweet completion percentage. Oh yeah. The game is also inconsistent on which characters you can attack and kill. Some characters can be killed, but only before they give you a quest, while others can be killed and leave you with no way to complete said quest. Anyone related to your main objective is immortal, thankfully, but people you can barter with or just your average Joe walking around don't seem to have anything relatable for who you can attack and who you can't. Why would you want to attack things in the first place? Well, hoping for loot drops, of course. Just about everything you can destroy drops something when it dies. Bugs drop antenna, corn gives you kernels, bees give you stingers, and so on. There are a lot of different kinds of things to collect, but not a whole lot to use them on. Don't Open the Doors doesn't have any kind of crafting system outside of turning berries into health potions. Only some of the things you can collect are useful in combat, such as kernels or spikes for your various guns or different kinds of bombs. Everything else is only used for specific side quests where you can trade one thing for another thing. By the end of the game, I had an inventory full of all kinds of random stuff, only having found a use for some of it. I was afraid the isometric view of Don't Open the Doors would look a bit odd with its claymation art design, but it all works together really well. Instead of making large scenes out of plasticine, it seems like everything was made and animated individually on its own, with images then scanned into a computer. That way, the developers could construct whatever environment they wanted by piecing things together instead of worrying about large, expensive sets. It was sad to see that there's only one very short cutscene filmed with traditional stop motion, but it's understandable considering how quickly stop motion animation can escalate in both time and cost. That particular cutscene is also the only part of the game to feature any voice acting. Everything else is told through dialogue boxes, which works out well enough. The writing in Don't Open the Doors, however, isn't anywhere near as strong as its aesthetics. Many things seem to just happen in the game without a whole lot connecting it all together, and by the end I was very confused as to what was going on and why. You go from delivering a bomb to crafting a new bomb after the first one was stolen, to creating a golem made of mushrooms, to finally fighting the mushroom golem. It's really weird and not in a good way. The game does do a decent job with giving everyone a personality, even though almost all of the characters feel like they're written the same. There are dialogue options for some conversations, but they generally boil down to, "not right now, tell me more," or "okay, I'll do it" kind of options. When you aren't talking to people or just walking around, you'll probably be in some kind of combat, and that's not really a good thing. Don't Open the Doors has some of the most basic and boring combat I've seen in a while. Even though you can expand your abilities throughout the game, it never gets all that complex, and for me, it quickly became tiresome. Your basic combat features you trying to smash things with a hammer, and whatever you're trying to smash, attempting to stop you from doing that. There are two kinds of guns you can collect later on for some ranged combat, as well as different kinds of bombs, but both are underwhelming. Guns need ammunition to be used, but ammunition cannot be bought. Instead, you have to collect ammunition from drops. One gun fires cactus spikes, which you have to kill cacti to get, while the other one fires popcorn, which you get from smashing corn. You only get 1 or 2 drops at a time, and each cactus or corn plant has to be smashed individually. This can be problematic as cacti don't like to be smashed and will constantly shoot at you. Here, we get to the real problem with Don't Open the Doors' combat. Every attack, be it the hammer or one of the guns, has a wind-up time before it'll hit anything. If you get hit during that wind-up time, your attack is cancelled and you have to try again. Enemies attack quicker than you do, so you've got to run around them a bit to get in the right position if you hope to hit anything at all. Hitting an enemy will stun them for a short period of time, but that stun feels shorter than the wind-up for the hammer, and enemies can stun you as well. Constantly throughout this game, I came across situations where I was stun-locked and unable to do anything. I couldn't move nor attack. This got so bad at one point that the game began crashing on me as it couldn't keep up with all of the stunning going on. It's ridiculous! Since there is no leveling nor experience points throughout the game, it really is just better to run past enemies than fighting them when you can. It's not always possible, since you'll sometimes be locked into arenas you can only escape by killing everything, but unless you have to kill everything, just get to the exits as quickly as possible. Bombs can help in some of these situations by damaging multiple enemies at a time, but different bombs only harm different things. Fruit bombs can only hurt basic enemies, while pumpkin bombs are the only thing that can harm pumpkins, and mushroom bombs are the only thing that can harm mushrooms. Mushrooms aren't really anything you have to worry about, but some pumpkins will try to kill you. Unless you have a pumpkin bomb, you can't attack them, and it's super annoying since they will not leave you alone. There's also no way to attack flying enemies, and if they get a whiff of you, they will hunt you down until you die. Thankfully, checkpoints happen rather often and don't open the doors. There's a plethora of save points to use, and every time you enter a door, it saves your game as well. And entering doors is something you want to do as much as possible. Doors are this game's version of dungeons. They transport you to a small, enclosed level with some kind of challenge to complete for a reward. It's the only way to get power-ups and upgrades, such as increasing your maximum health points or finding diamonds to increase your armor. Some doors will give you books, which will then be traded in on new abilities. Abilities range from you being able to use those bombs you've been collecting, as well as letting you perform a combo with your hammer. The combo doesn't have any kind of audio or visual cue telling players when to press the attack button to cause the combo to happen, so it's really basically useless. There are 9 abilities total, and you can pick between 2 of them per book collected, although you can only pick 1 ability at a time. There are only a few abilities needed to be able to complete the game, but I'd recommend getting as many as possible since they make the game so much easier. One of the later abilities lets you place a really powerful bomb after charging it by defeating enemies, which is fantastic for some of the more hectic areas. While I love the claymation and art design of Don't Open the Doors, as well as the game's surreal environments, I can't say I would recommend it to anyone. Combat is really monotonous, and about halfway through the game, I dreaded every enemy encounter. It's both repetitive and tiring to the point that I couldn't wait for the game to finally be finished just so I didn't have to experience it anymore. It's a shame since the world of Don't Open the Doors is rather interesting, and it has some unique music as well. I like pretty much everything about the game except actually playing it. Thanks for watching. Please let me know what you think about the game or this video in the comments section. I'm MegapieMan, and I'll talk to you guys later. Want to see more quick peeks? Click on the video on the left to take a look at Cursed Castilla, a difficult but fair platformer reminiscent of Ghosts and Goblins. Or the video on the right to see Halloween Forever, a platformer full of the spirit of Halloween.